Oh, come on into my home. This is episode 2 of Read Poetry and Eventually Die. Today I'm going to be talking about Laura Goldstein's book, Awesome Camera. I also have some other things I want to talk about first. First, I will address the sky once again. We're looking at a clear blue sky. Actually, there's more clouds in it than I thought. It looks like cirrus. Cirrus, they're pretty high and thin. You know, I was trying to learn these cloud types because, you know, if you learn things like cloud types, things like names of trees, things like you learn the details of the world around you and the names for them, it just sort of can add this depth, I feel. I just know if I was walking down the street and if I knew the names of the trees, I would be able to be interested by them more easily. And I would be able to also be more interested by the clouds if I knew the names of them and the different classifications. So I was looking that info up. I truly actually looked that info up. I watched a few different videos. It seems a little hard to me still to discern what these different cloud types are, but I know some of the basics more. I mean, I already knew cirrus, though. But what is it, cirro? It could be cirrostratus, because there's sort of, I mean, these ones are more wispy around. I think these might still be cirrus, but stratus is when it's in these layers. And it can be at different levels. Normal stratus is low, it's just, I think, overcast, basically, is normal level of stratus. But there's also altostratus, where them layers are a bit higher up, and they can be broken up a little bit more. And then cirrostratus, it's really just this light film across the top of the sky, you know? So, I don't know. I'm trying to learn sky information. Do you understand? Okay, I'm going to talk about Laura Goldstein's book, Awesome Camera. It's a 2014 release. So this is brand new. It's on Make Now Press in Los Angeles. It's about 76 pages, about 70 pages of solid poetry in here. It's cool. It's a big square book. It's like 8 inches square, 7 inches square or something. Cool design. I want to just start with one poem, just so you get a feel of it. And this is not even technically a full poem, I think. It's one section of a poem sequence, but I really like this. Maybe my favorite page in the book. First page of poetry in the book. This is the first section of the title poem, Awesome Camera. Please don't escape into the horizon. There's hidden sediment. We're watching you in a movie and you seem to have no lines. Others dress up better and crowd the camera. Close-ups show a flawlessness that can't be replicated under head-to-toe coverings. I want to call out to you what I remember, but my species doesn't have access to those memories. Closed shutters in different colors. If you think it's hot here, try wearing a mask in the desert. Pause. Please kill a chicken quickly. The blood drains heavily. Do not misconstrue. You may be tempted to keep ice on hand, but instead drink it lukewarm. A summary erases the pulse under a map of colors. The rain makes it dark. It's not quite the right time to rewind right now. It's gotten dark. I asked around. Elemental motifs create natural barriers. I can hear. The heart dilates and traffic rushes through long puddles bending under the moon, their edges in the sand. We build ourselves into a box, a small opening at one end. The camera is awesome. Are you? I loved the end of that poem so much when I read it the first time. It's one of those moments in poetry where I'm just like giddy about it. I'm just like, oh my God. There's some great moments throughout the poem, you know. That moment where it just stops out of nowhere and it's like, pause. Please kill a chicken quickly. And then I like the darkness, you know, I like the rain makes it dark. It's not quite the right time to rewind right now. It's gotten dark. I asked around. Like those, when these short sentences cut in after these longer sentences, you know, you really notice it. And then the ending, just the ending, we build ourselves into a box, a small opening at one end. The camera is awesome. Are you? And I guess I want to pull back now, but I want to keep it on that theme. Awesome Camera, you know, this title. The word awesome, I think it's like a child word almost. Like, you know, I think of children using that word like, this is awesome. Together, you know, Awesome Camera and the line drawing of the camera on the cover, the yellow color. I don't know. I feel like I was expecting this book to be kind of light, kind of playful, and have this childlike tone to it because of awesome. But then one of the first things you encounter is the epigraphs inside. The epigraphs, a quote before the book, a quote before a poem. There's two epigraphs in here at the beginning of the book. There's a long quote by Noam Chomsky, and then there's a quote by Barack Obama. The Chomsky quote is kind of long. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's sort of about the role of the press in relation to the government and the military, I think. There's a reference to the minister of Nazi propaganda. And then the second quote is Barack Obama saying, quote, "There are patriots who oppose the war in Iraq, and there are patriots who supported the war in Iraq. We are one people, all of us pledging allegiance to the stars and stripes, all of us defending the United States of America." And so that frames this book in a different way than I was immediately thinking with awesome camera. And it starts to make me think about the role of camera, in relation to the press, in relation to, these captured images from different wars and different military operations and stuff. And so everything's framed a little bit differently. And it's interesting the way it goes through the book. It keeps going through the book, and there's this sort of bouncing back and forth. There's this oscillation, you could call it, between, the strange, experimental, poetic language, and then there's some moments where it becomes pretty overtly political. There's this moment that said, "We're here to celebrate community. In a house with a limited view, you might reach out to a satellite for the news." The home, the house, becomes this unit into which, small family units or individuals are isolated from each other. We stay in our house, we watch our TV or use our internet, instead of connecting with each other in person in our community. If people are not really talking to their neighbors, then they're getting their main news from the satellite, from the mainstream media. And so maybe communities are sort of managed a little bit easier by the governing forces, by the corporate forces. I'm going to play a recording of Laura reading a couple short pieces in Chicago at the Dollhouse reading series. These are poems from this book, Awesome Camera. They're from the poem sequence called 5. Here they are.
5 is the only odd prime number that is not at the base of the tree. Above, in the quiet diamond-shaped leaves, mark out light beams. An oily day in the atmosphere morphs into the problem of 6. 5 is the only prime number to end with the number 5. A bird with 5 sides to each feather, a folding of consequence into the breast, because this is the beak and this is the rest. The symmetry is solvable. There are 5 exceptional lies to be told. You are 5 radiant points of a spiral galaxy pummeling into this world, bringing the word from the mountain. The end of your name trails into the earth, leading you there, and not on into the heart of the fertile, you burning, burning fire. A dream has only 4 elements, pinning you into the sleep of yourself.
A lot of interesting things going on here. I like the line about the 5 is the only prime number to end with the number 5. I like that poetry can just offer you facts sometimes, You're reading a book of poetry, you're enjoying the language, you're enjoying the sound, How about some facts, How about, give me some math facts, dude, Give me some whale facts. Give me some dinosaur facts. Give me some... That was just an interesting moment. I'm like, yes, it would be the only prime number that would end with 5, because all other numbers that would end with 5 would be divisible by 5. So, anyway. I liked you burning, burning fire. And then I liked the end of that a lot. A dream has only 4 elements, pinning you into the sleep of yourself. So the meter of that last line struck me. A dream has only 4 elements, and then there's a line break into the last line, pinning you into the sleep of yourself. I like that as a closing. It just sort of slams it home. The same way that I mentioned about Dean Ada's one poem, just the falling meter into the end, pinning you into the sleep of yourself. It's dactylic meter, actually. Do that, do that, do that, do. That's fun. I remember looking up this one form of poetry called a double dactyl. That's like do that, do that, do that, do. It's like goofy. It's like a circus music or something, this meter. But here, just isolated by itself without the rhyme to sort of make it sound goofier, it sounds more serious, pinning you into the sleep of yourself. That's kind of cool. There's moments in the book where rhyme shows up, but only in like short bursts and not really a full rhyme scheme, just sort of like moments where it shows up for a couple lines and then it goes away. I'll read this poem. Little measures weaving underwater make for older references centered on me. The you I've been gunning for limps in on one short leg and says let's go but I can't. Then just let go but no. Please get lost but please come back. The smaller the ripples in the water, the larger the weather. We've all gone further together. Some futures traded for finer treasures, flashy leather and shallow pleasures. The part they've mastered where we resent taking care of each other. Another greasy tether hell-bent on staying tied to itself forever. I really love that ending. The part they've mastered where we resent taking care of each other. That ties back to what I was saying about the role of the home, sort of isolating people. It seems to be pointing toward that same aspect, the isolating, individualistic aspect of capitalism in our current system. Another greasy tether hell-bent on staying tied to itself forever. And I liked in that same poem, this section, lift. The future incorporated into do. A small sound that signals a small change. A corporation descends its drills into the ground a couple 100 feet from the swampy pool. Smooth. A slanted pile of pine is lifted horizontally through the leaves. An incentive blooms then. 6,000 cycles of one system, scarcely strung to itself with slow repetitions. Sudden interruptions are but subtle. Your slang is so perfect. You easily move onto the shore to start building a structure that will hold you just above the water. I read that, and I don't feel confident to discuss what I just read in terms of like what it means, what's going on. Some moments it'll pop into clarity. A corporation descends its drills into the ground. Comes into clarity what's being said, and then it'll sort of go out of clarity. It's sort of like you're just experiencing language differently. You're encountering language differently. You're using language differently than people use language. Like you're using it in a way that is not communicative in the same way. It's not like the main purpose is to communicate. You're really creating art in a different way with language, and it's something to think about, something to encounter. I really like when it's in one of those intensely experimental, broken forms, and then it comes out of that and it says something that's much more simple or straight up. It's like you're emerging from the clatter and the noise or the mess to something that's very simple, and that effect of going from chaos to simplicity is something that you wouldn't have if you just had the simple line by itself. There is an effect of like emerging from the chaos and the rubble to have this sentence that pops out and says something very directly to you. There's some great individual lines I wanted to quote from throughout the book. Page 48. Then the very rapid echoes beneath each breath of each dancer. Page 51. Even if we part, I know I'll always be in your phone. Page 60. I promise to return to you, my beloved, in a land of music and heartburn, microphones and hostages, mixed somethings and head wraps, maps and hello. Then I want to discuss this interesting moment with the meter on page 73. Something about it, I couldn't tell exactly what, but I focused on it a little bit. I sort of figured out what it was, I think, but there's this part on page 73. Oh, but a mountain of meditation, a maybe a mouth, burned lips dipped in the hot metal of weaponry, wary but not of war. This moment in the middle, maybe a mouth, burned lips dipped in the hot metal of weaponry. Burned lips dipped in the hot metal of weaponry. It's like, it's got this rhythm to it. It's like a song or something, but I think what I was looking at it closely, and something that really does it for me in there is just the concentration of stressed syllables. It's, maybe a mouth, burned lips dipped in the hot metal of weaponry. Mouth, burned, lips, dipped. 4 words in a row, all stressed, and then 2 unstressed but then hot metal, has the 2 syllables stressed in a row. Yeah, I think it reminded me of this Gerard Manley Hopkins poem. The sonnet, God help him, I think it was a sonnet, where the last line, sonnet usually is unstressed, stress. Unstressed, stress is iambic meter, so it's like da-da, 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 da-da. Goes on. But anyway, the last line of this Gerard Manley Hopkins sonnet, and I couldn't find it, but I want to read some Hopkins soon. This last line of this one Gerard Manley Hopkins sonnet, I remember it ended with 10 stressed syllables in a row. And I was like, when I read it, it was just like, whoa. I don't know, it's like this beat that, like, in music, if it's just like da 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 da, it's like this very strong ending in this way. I don't know, it's very interesting. I want to play with meter more because reading these texts, Dean's and now Laura's, where the sound is prominent, where interesting things happen with meter, it's really making me want to look at meter more and consciously construct more in my own poems. I guess I'll end with reading one more poem. This is a section of a poem again. This is on page 65. Maybe animal mastery might allow lavish interior or analogous nesting. I come into evening rich. Socially pair icing wreak success. I promise restitution even eclipsing nothing. Ready arms calculate interior altitudes like Icarus sailing moonwards. My analogy is mine. Isn't mine, alone, never is circling ever. Asteroids let all rest merry, interior mountain. Succulent pair inclinations ready evening. Imminent messenger perfect ear rear into animal lair is sounding magnificent. I'm nearing, animal-like, closely rendered etching as me. Imitation mango. Next is carrot eclair. Surely pair entree rimmed mastery. Also measure. I am. Laughing in absolute royalty? Absolutely. Next is creamed Ecuador. Inspired melty prize exactly reconstituted in actual laughter I sometimes master. Actual real mastery. I like that. It's so fun when it gets that fricked up. I mean, this book sort of ping-pongs between things where I'm like, wait, am I totally playing with language? Or am I, like, trying to actually, be communicated something about the war or, the situation in our country or something? But this poem, like, succulent pair inclinations ready evening. Imminent messenger perfect ear rear into animal lair is sounding magnificent. That's fun to read. You can't deny that. Okay. Awesome Camera by Laura Goldstein. I'll put the link in the description. It's by makenowbooks.com. I want to encourage you all to comment. I have committed myself. I'm going to respond to every comment on readpoetryanddie.com for at least a while. So comment me on there. Give me feedback on the show. Give me feedback on what should happen on the show. Give me feedback on the poetry. Let's talk about poetry. Let's talk about cloud types. I want to be there. I want to be there. Like I should be. Charlie Dog is here once again, and we're wishing you goodbye. I hope you like this episode. Stick around. I'm going to keep things going. So, have a good day. Bye.